to show them this new power of mine. When woods where we landed, we're 2 rows and next to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Greasy Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. When woods where we landed, we're 2 rows and next to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Greasy Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. Our aim never disappoint, so we have coincidentally stumbled on a legendary. Wait until they see us now, waiting for the opportune time to show them this new power of mine. When woods where we landed, we're 2 rows and next to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Greasy Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. When woods where we landed, we're 2 rows and next to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Greasy Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. Our aim never disappoint, so we have coincidentally stumbled on a legendary. Wait until they see us now, waiting for the opportune time to show them this new power of mine. When woods where we landed, we're 2 rows and next to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Greasy Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. When woods where we landed, we're 2 rows and next to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Greasy Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. Our aim never disappoint, so we have coincidentally stumbled on a legendary. Wait until they see us now, waiting for the opportune time to show them this new power of mine. When woods where we landed, we're 2 rows and next to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Greasy Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. When woods where we landed, we're 2 rows and next to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Greasy Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. Our aim never disappoint, so we have coincidentally stumbled on a legendary. 'Cause they're always the next to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Greasy Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. When woods where we landed, we're 2 rows and next to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Greasy Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. Waiting for the opportune time to show them this new power of mine. When woods where we landed, we're 2 rows and next to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Greasy Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. When woods where we landed, we're 2 rows and next to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Greasy Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. Our aim never disappoint, so we have coincidentally stumbled on a legendary. Wait until they see us now, wait waiting for the opportune time to show 'em this new power of mine. When words where we landed were two rows and next to be commended, we're taking down all of those who oppose. Gracie Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. When words where we landed were two rows and next to be commended, we're taking down all of those who oppose. Gracie Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. Our aim never disappoint, so we have coincidentally stumbled on a legendary. Wait until they see us now, waiting for the opportune time to show 'em this new power of mine. When words where we landed were two rows and next to be commended, we're taking down all of those who oppose. Gracie Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. When words where we landed were two rows and next to be commended, we're taking down all of those who oppose. Gracie Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. Our aim never disappoint, so we have coincidentally stumbled on a legendary. Wait until they see us now, waiting for the opportune time to show 'em this new power of mine. When words where we landed were two rows and next to be commended, we're taking down all of those who oppose. Gracie Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. When words where we landed were two rows and next to be commended, we're taking down all of those who oppose. Gracie Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. Our aim never disappoint, so we have coincidentally stumbled on a legendary. Wait until they see us now, waiting for the opportune time to show 'em this new power of mine. When words where we landed were two rows and next to be commended, we're taking down all of those who oppose. Gracie Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. When words where we landed were two rows and next to be commended, we're taking down all of those who oppose. Gracie Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. Our aim never disappoint, so we have coincidentally stumbled on a legendary. Wait until they see us now, waiting for the opportune time to show 'em this new power of mine. When words where we landed were two rows and next to be commended, we're taking down all of those who oppose. Gracie Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. When words where we landed were two rows and next to be commended, we're taking down all of those who oppose. Gracie Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. Our aim never disappoint, so we have coincidentally stumbled on a legendary. Wait until the opportune time to show 'em this new power of mine. When words where we landed, we're 2 rows and next to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Greasy Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. When words where we landed, we're 2 rows and next to be commended. We're taking.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Unplugged Unfiltered. I am Brian Clements alongside Bob Clements, and tonight we are going to talk about owning the game and not just playing it. And what does that really mean? This isn't just another kind of grind harder episode. This isn't about just working your ass off, right? This is a wake-up call, right? This hustle culture glorifies movement, but movement without ownership is just a treadmill, right? I can burn calories, but I'm not building any empires by doing that. And I think one of the things, especially with our audience, that I really want to push our audience, millennials, Gen Zs, there are more tools now, and we've talked about this so many times on our podcast. There are more tools now than there's ever been before to build your own empire, right? Yeah, and not just work for someone else.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, like I say, I've been doing this for a lot of years, but I mean, I love the new technology today. Oh, yeah. I mean, what you can do with chat and TikTok. We're on TikTok here. What you can do with all these different platforms, how you can connect with people, how you can test things.
Yeah.
And again, to your point, Brian, it's not about hustling all the time. I think in the business that I'm in on the consulting, I see people that are always busy, never get anything done.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's just I have a dealership that we work with and just started with us, and it was a venture capital group that bought them, and they called us up and they said, hey, we've had this for a year and we are losing our backsides. And can you help us? And so as I was talking to them, I said, well, and they said, well, all our people are busy all the time. And I go, well, busy doesn't mean you're getting anything done.
Absolutely.
And so for anybody that's actually been in like a dealership, they have 4 technicians and they have 3 service writers and a service manager.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in a typical dealership, if I had 4 technicians, I wouldn't need even a service writer. I just have a service manager. So I asked the owners, I said, so what are these guys all doing? He says, oh my God, Bob, they're busy all the time.
Yeah.
I go, doing what? And he goes, well, I don't know. I said, well, maybe we need to check into it, because they all feel like they're busy.
Yeah.
But like I say, but they're way overstaffed. They're probably spending $150,000 a year on payroll that they should never spend on. But in their mind, they're all busy.
Yeah. Well,
but they're getting nothing done.
But that, I think that plays back into that hustle culture, right? Is as long as I'm constantly moving, I'm being productive.
Right.
And that's not always the case. Like a marathon runner, they might train a little bit on a treadmill, but they're not actually gaining steps.
Right.
Like, I'm taking steps, right? I'm doing something. Right. I'm physically moving, but I'm not actually progressing in a state of environment.
Right.
And I think that's why, when I was thinking about this, is the treadmill analogy is so perfect, is because yes, I can move, I can be active, I can make a lot of steps, but my environment's never changing. The environment constantly stays the same, and you're wasting energy on the exact same environment. Now, if you're in a good environment and you already are progressing, it's okay to stay in that environment until you're ready to take that next step.
Exactly.
Like, I'm not going to go out and run a marathon tomorrow.
I never will. So you can start that
the best thing to do would probably be for me to get on a treadmill and start that, like, not go out on a 12-mile jog.
Correct.
Right. And so there's definitely stages to it, but you have to understand that this hustle mentality, this hustle mindset doesn't always equal progress. And what you have to do, and what anybody who's on here, if you've thought about starting a business, if you've thought about being an entrepreneur, if you've ever thought about creating your own empire, your own reality, your own dream, what you have to do is you have to take that step, and you have to change your mindset, right? Your mindset has to shift. And some of the things that, when I was creating this podcast episode, some of the mindset shifts that I thought of is, how can I get paid, right? We all ask, how can I get paid? When can I get paid? Instead, you need to start saying, what am I building?
Yeah.
Like it's, yes, you want to get paid. Yeah, you have to have the money to do it, but you also have to change that mindset instead of, okay, this is going to be a, where's my paycheck coming from, to what am I building? What legacy am I creating? What empire am I doing? What am I creating for myself? And I think that that's something that a lot of entrepreneurs, you get stuck in this, like, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs or people who want to be entrepreneurs, they start off saying, like, where do I start? Right? I don't have the funds to do this. I still need that paycheck, and you do need that paycheck. But there comes a point where you have to say, I'm tired of building someone else's empire and someone else's dream, and I want to build something for myself. Now, I will say that, it looks like our live for some reason has frozen on some of these, but I will say that when you are building, as kind of, what did I say?
Or you're just talking about, again, as in the beginning, you have to have money.
Yes.
Right. But again, but and I would say most entrepreneurs, not all, but most entrepreneurs aren't money driven.
Absolutely.
Okay. So they want to do something. They want to build something. They want to create something. They want to leave something behind, a legacy. Your point was, if you're working for somebody else, all you're doing is building their legacy.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean, there's always not everybody is going to be able to be an entrepreneur. Although I would tell everybody, you really don't know until you at least try it.
Yes.
There's a lot of people that are terrified, saying, well, I don't know if I can do it. And I go, well, I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't really know if you can swim if you never get in the water.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You just don't know those things. And I think that's the piece of it, is that as long as you're working for somebody else, you're building their legacy.
Absolutely.
Okay. And you're getting paid for it.
Yeah.
Right. And you may make more money working for somebody else in the beginning than you'll make for yourself. So there's that give up there. But I think, to your point, Brian, is it's not what I'm getting paid. It's the shift of mindset. You have to start thinking differently. You have to start looking at things in a little bit different way.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's that I always talk to everybody. It's about taking what everybody else is looking at, and then twist it about 5 degrees, either to the left or to the right, depending upon your political persuasion.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter which way it does it. You can go 5% to the right or 5% to the left. It's still 5% different than what everybody else is doing. And that's really what you use to build something with.
Yes.
But again, it's not how much am I going to make?
Yeah.
Because I don't think, again, there's entrepreneurs that are successful, and that's what they look at. They just look at the money is my measurement of success. I would say, in all the years I've been doing this and all the entrepreneurs I've met, they don't measure success with money.
No. Yeah.
They just don't.
Yeah.
So well, it's having that plan to build something.
Yeah. Well, for me, I know as an entrepreneur, my drive is to build a business. Like I love doing that. That's something that's for me. Plus the freedom that I can create inside of building that business. And we've got a lot of people here on TikTok. We have a lot of people on all of our other channels too. But going and shifting that mindset, right? Taking that first step for our TikTok followers, that's doing your first live. Right?
Absolutely.
This doesn't apply, this isn't just to a brick and mortar business or an online sale. This can be, we've got someone who is an incredible singer on here. She's released a couple new songs. It's done incredibly well, but her first step was, step into a recording studio.
Exactly.
And take that step. You have to believe in yourself. You have to change that mindset so that you can say, you know what, I can do this. And then create, what does that look like for you? Is it about the money? Is it about the freedom? What does freedom look like to you? But it's 100% a mindset shift that you have to create so that you can own the game. And entrepreneurship, business, heck, life as a whole is one big ass game.
It is, and using the singer as an analogy, because I was just thinking, if I went into a recording studio, I would still suck when I left the recording studio. Okay, so I'd be like the world's worst singer. But as you were saying about that, because my brain is an entrepreneurial brain, I go like, but there are a lot of young singers out there that need access to recording studios that don't want to pay $5,000 a day for it. But what would happen if I had a space where I could create a recording studio where I could say, hey, if you're an up and coming artist, if you need to do a recording in this recording studio, it's $50 an hour.
Yeah.
Okay. And I sit here and say, well, I could probably get a dozen people,
absolutely,
to do this, or more than that. And maybe because people that sing know other people that sing. There seems to be a connection there.
Yes.
But I just go back again. I mean, I think everything you look at, you say, well, I would suck as a singer, but I definitely could equip a recording studio.
Yes, absolutely.
So I mean, I think that's the piece of it there. And then say, all of a sudden I'm going like, well, damn, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I should do that.
Well, and honestly, that's a great point. So when we first started talking about this podcast, I was actually looking into a studio space for us to do a podcast because we were sitting at.
Right now we're at the lake.
We are at the lake. So this is why it looks.
I was at the lake last week. I just got out of Raleigh, North Carolina. Yeah. And I came back to the lake.
Yeah. So that's why it looks a little different. Things are a little bit more casual.
We'll say casual.
By all means, because we're sitting down at the lake. But I was looking at the podcast studios, and there was a video studio that is in Overland Park, Kansas. And one of the things that they do is, so they'll actually do all of your videography. They'll do all of that for free. They get 1% of all profits that you make off of your videos.
They would starve on ours.
They would.
They would go like, well, this is terrible.
But the thing is they have an incredible marketing team that markets and builds that for you. So what they're doing is they're investing in entrepreneurs who want to start, but they're also sitting here and building their business. It's a long-term investment, and they book. I mean, the reality of it is they're booking everybody on that side of things when it's not booked for paying gigs.
Sure, that's great.
But I'm sitting here taking my downtimes, my slow times, and building on that with like, okay, well, I wouldn't have anybody in my studio at this time anyways.
Right.
Why not bring someone on and do that? But what they're doing is they have just taken a game that is being played in social media and marketing and all of this, and now they own that game. And they would have, again, they could have owned part of our podcast at this time, which wouldn't have benefited them.
They would starve to death.
They would starve.
They would say, and don't go sing, Bob. Because you would be terrible. But even with that, again, I think, and that's to me is always, that's why I love being an entrepreneur, because your brain, which sometimes will get you in trouble.
Mine does.
But your brain automatically goes over here, and I'm sitting there going like, okay, well, why couldn't I go to a recording studio and say, I want to buy all of your downtime, and I'll pay you 10% of what you normally get.
Yeah.
But that studio is not being used anyway. The equipment's just sitting there. I want to buy that downtime.
Yeah.
And everybody go like, okay. Yeah. And if you need it, that's fine, right? But if it's just vacant, I want to buy that downtime. And again, so you've got nothing in it basically.
Yeah.
But I think that's the piece of it. Again, it's not, because I don't think about it from a money perspective. I think about it from an opportunity perspective. It's like, okay, then all I got to do is go find some people that are like your young singer there and say, hey, do you have some friends? You have some other people like this?
Yeah.
And I've got this on Saturdays and Sundays.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's come in and do some things with it. But I think again, Lo, this goes back a little bit, Brian. We talked about a few podcasts ago. Is you still have to have kind of a plan.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
So, and the plan is not, I want to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
The plan is I want to build something that does this.
Yes.
Because the money always comes. That's the thing I learned. And I would say all your entrepreneurs that we've talked to and all the entrepreneurs out there that's had success, the key to being successful as an entrepreneur is to learn that you don't chase money.
Yes.
If you do the right things, and money finds you.
Absolutely.
And I think we talked about that before. I said, if I lost everything today in a year, I would have it all back because I get it. I understand it. And I think that's the piece of it there. Again, it's just not chasing it for the pay, but saying, okay, what can I build with this? What can I create with this?
Yes.
And then building off of that.
Yeah. Well, and we, like we said, we've said it before over and over again. The harder you look for money, the harder it is to get money.
Exactly.
Put what you're doing, build your equity into yourself, right? Create a control around, because the reality of an entrepreneur, as a starting off entrepreneur, your brand is your personal.
You're it.
You are your
brand.
And so you have to create an equity in your brand. You have to create control of that. And then you have to be able to leverage that. And to jump forward to next week's, what is today's date? Yeah, I believe next week's podcast, we're going to actually talk about your connections are your superpower. Your network is your superpower. And so incredible entrepreneur, incredible connection network gentleman. He's going to be on here next week with us. You don't want to miss that if you want to build your network. But you have to be able to leverage all of that to create and to gain the momentum to build your own game, right? To create this lifestyle, this opportunity that you want to create, you have to, again, create equity. You have to control what you're doing, and then you have to be able to leverage that to your network.
Exactly. You know, and again, you talked about the connections, and I think again that's one of the things that seasoned entrepreneurs understand is how to leverage connections.
Yes.
I know when you were first starting this new business of yours, you know, and you were on a podcast with Gary Vee, and you just got on his podcast, and it was like 12 hours long, I think.
Yeah, it seemed like it was like
Mike and Casper just getting ready to promote their new book.
Yeah, it was like a 5 hour long.
Yeah. So anyway, but you made the step, you got on it, you made a connection there, and I think that's the biggest thing. Again, you know, it's and next week you want to be on the podcast with us next week. We've got incredible guests. And if you've ever heard of 6 Degrees of Separation, everybody knows Kevin Bacon. Yeah. Right.
Yes.
Somewhere down the line, this whole concept comes from that. But again, it's experienced entrepreneurs, seasoned entrepreneurs are not afraid to make connections.
Absolutely.
Because that's where it all happens. Because as we talked before, entrepreneurs love helping other entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Oh, and their question 99% of the time is, so what can I do to help you?
Yeah.
And I tell people it's not about the money. I mean, if you need money, it doesn't ever hurt to ask for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it doesn't mean you're going to get it, but I don't know of an entrepreneur out there that I've ever met that's been successful that doesn't say, what can I do to help you?
Yeah.
And many times it's not the money you need. You just need some guidance. You need to say, well, what you really should do, Bob, is you really need to talk to this person. Let me get you connected with this person. And I think that's the piece of it again, but it's understanding you're building this thing out there, but you got all these other people helping you build it.
Well, and again, I mean, I what I'm going to say, and with Drew coming on next week is, and you don't want to miss this, but connections are key when it comes to building any type of business, right? And what is happening in AI, a little bit off topic, but what is happening in AI is going to make connections seamless. It is going to make creating those connections so much easier.
And then it's going to kill us all.
The Terminator, we've seen it all.
Like, okay, now I know your connections. Now I'm going to come after you.
We're hoping for the Wall-E version.
We are. Got my fingers crossed for Wall-E.
We'll see. So, but I mean, the hustle can open the doors, right?
Absolutely.
It's what I did to create my first connections in this company, right? Was I hustled and spent 5 hours on a podcast to create one connection. But that one connection opened so many doors for me to start creating ownership in what I was doing, right? The hustle didn't create the ownership. It opened the door for me to build that ownership into my own thing. And so again, whether you're on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, if you stream, if you're a singer, if you want to be a podcast person, if you want to build a different type of business, whether it's drop shipping, wouldn't encourage that business. Only about 2% of drop shippers ever actually make their money back. No matter what you see on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, not a great business.
Not a great business.
Wouldn't encourage it. But no matter what you're doing, you've got to follow kind of these simple, basic things. But once you do that, then you own the game. Like you control the rules. You still have to play within certain rules, right? I mean, federal rules, they have tax codes, stuff like that.
It's a nuisance, but you should probably do it.
But with that, you can start creating your own game. You create your own rules, and you don't need 1 million followers, right? You need assets. Assets are king. But just like we were talking about, an asset doesn't have to be a monetary asset, right? It can be a network. It can be an empty studio space. It can be, I mean, there's so many things that you can create. on our TikTok followers, our TikTok fans, or everyone who's viewing on TikTok right now, your asset is TikTok and the analytics that it gives. That is your asset. You are playing quote unquote TikTok's game, but inside of that, TikTok has allowed you to create your own game, where you can drive your business through your supporters in any way that you want to, but you don't need 1 million followers to start. TikTok, you need 1,000. We'll just say that you got to have at least 1,000 to start. But the other thing, again, and like you said, you don't need permission. You do need a plan,
right?
And you don't need to play everybody else's game. You just need to own your own game.
Yeah, and you don't want to play everybody else's game. I think again, it's like you were talking about the recording studio, right? There's other recording studios in Kansas City.
Oh yeah,
but these are guys who are going like, okay, well, I get paid for this, but I still got to pay all my staff.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's nobody coming in today that I've got booked, or if I got somebody only booked for 2 hours today, and I've got a staff that I'm paying for 8 hours for it, it's stupid not to try to figure out nothing. And that's what entrepreneurs do. They go like, oh, I've got this opportunity, and people say, well, nobody's ever done that, and they go, all the more reason to give it a shot. I mean, because that's where this stuff comes from. People say, well, that won't work, and I go, well, why wouldn't it work? And says, well, because who's going to come in and do that, or how do you know? How do you know what time you're going to have available? Well, you've got, again, a young artist, that's looking for some really inexpensive studio time. You said, I can have you come in, and you could come in at 4 o'clock Saturday afternoon and have the studio for 3 hours. There are people out there that would do that,
Well, I mean, and going back and just kind of going back into my history a little bit, when we recorded.
Was this after you got out of jail?
Yeah, that was the second time.
The second time, not the first time, no, but the second time. That's what it was.
No, but so when my band recorded our very first professionally recorded album, I mean, I don't know if you remember the studio that we went to, but we had to show up. It was like a Thursday. We had to show up at like 8:30 in the morning. Yeah. And we could go as long as no one came in, right? And we get to keep, and it was very, very inexpensive. But for us as a young band, like we were like, I don't really care what time we have to be there. I don't like, that was where the hustle came in, right? Right. We played the game, we did the research, we created the connections to get into a professional. I mean, Drowning Pool was there recording the day before us. I mean, and if you don't know who Drowning Pool is, they're a big, rock band. But Drowning Pool was there recording before us the day before, and I get a call from the recording studio. They're like, "Hey, you guys can be here at 8:30 tomorrow morning. You can record until someone comes in." And we're like, "Perfect, we will be there." And I think we got there at like 7:50.
Yeah, exactly.
We're ready.
We're ready.
But we took that like.
You played the drums, so it took a little bit to set those.
Yeah, well, the drums and we were singing and I mean, it took us a while to get everything set up, but it was cool. But it was such a fun experience, and it again that hustle creates so much. It creates the potential. It opens that door, and then we created our own game, which for us was that album that we put out.
Right. So I mean, but I think again, it's about like you said, it's not about hustling harder.
Yes.
I mean, you got to hustle. It's because people say, well, so I don't have to hustle. Well, no, you got to hustle. But it's not just about the hustle. It's about making sure that I'm moving forward. I've got a plan. I've got a strategy. And then we've talked about it 100 times. And I know Mike and Cass talked about it. And I know the other people that we've had on. You have to understand that your plan's probably not going to work out. Exactly how you've laid it out. Mine never has. Okay? All right. But again, I was also smart enough to know, okay, this isn't working. It doesn't mean it's a bad plan. But then I say, okay, do I need to shift it just at 5 degrees again? Because sometimes that is such a big part of it. You give up on it. Yeah. Okay. And what you needed to do was just twist it that little extra 5 degrees. And then that's that, like, okay, that's it. Yeah. That's exactly where it's at. I was talking when I was in Raleigh with a guy and that's been a good friend of mine for years, and he's looking at doing another business, a new business, and it's it's going to be a really cool website that dealers can use and things like this. But and so we started talking about pricing. And he says, well, I'm going to charge $49 a month for it. And I go, why $49 a month? And he goes, well, I said, I think it's it's easy to get in and it's cheap. And I go, well, then everybody's going to think that it's cheap.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he said, so you don't think it's a good idea? I said, no, the website's a good idea. I just think your pricing strategy is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Why don't you charge $99 a month as
Yeah.
a reoccurring fee?
Yeah.
And then do the first 100 people at $49 a month.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And grandfather them in forever, because now we've got 100 people that will tell 100 other dealers that will
Yeah.
tell 100 other dealers.
Yeah.
And he goes like, oh, I hadn't really thought about it that way. So I
Yeah.
said, so now we've gone from $49 to $99 a month.
Yeah.
Yes, the first 100 are at $49 a month, and they're
Yeah.
grandfathered in.
Yeah.
Right. But from that point forward, because he wants to have 2,000 dealers on, from that point forward, everyone's at $99
Yeah.
a month. You know, and it's that thing again. It doesn't mean that it wouldn't work, but my sense was that it sounded too cheap. Therefore, everybody's going to look at it and go, well, that can't be good. But it's just taking that little twist with it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key to it.
When it's again that as an entrepreneur, as you are creating your own game, the perk of it is you have the ability to change the rules. Right?
Absolutely.
You have the ability to make those pivots, to make those little twists, and sometimes and you can change it to that 5 degrees, and 90% of the time that works. Sometimes you have to say, okay, this game off the table.
Yeah.
I'm seeing what the demand is. Again, with social media, with honestly the current generations, with millennials, Generation Z, Gen Alpha, which I still don't quite understand, even though I have multiple of those.
I don't understand.
As my
I don't understand
children.
Gen Zs and millennials.
Yeah. But with all of that being said, is you have the ability to throw so many ideas into front of so many people and know if it's going to work in an hour. You know if it's going to work in 3 days, and then you can change it by 5 degrees, throw it out there again, see what happens, or you can just change and pivot and make that big adjustment. But with all of that being said, with as easy as it is to get into this, you got to actually fucking do it.
Well, yeah, I mean,
you got to just do it.
Yeah, that's the piece again. So then you get paralyzed by overanalyzing.
Yeah.
Okay, I see that happen all the time. It's
absolutely.
like, my God, just do it.
Yeah.
Well, what about this or what about this? And I go, so what about that? So let's say this happens and it doesn't work. And I go, are you going to lose everything? Well, no.
Yeah.
Okay, well then try it. And if it doesn't work, like you said, Brian, then you pivot. And you and I talked about this. I think it was on the second podcast. That to me is the most exciting thing. We're excited to have everybody on from TikTok. But to me, the platforms today, where to me 40 years ago, I couldn't easily test things.
Yeah.
I had to spend $50,000 to build a store to test and go, well, shit, nobody likes fried pickles.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But with the platforms you have today, you can throw it out, test it, try it, tweak it, try it. The nice thing about people, if you ask them, I just want honest feedback.
Yeah.
Is this even an idea? And I find that most people online are brutally honest.
Yes. Yes.
And so they'll tell you, but then don't take it personal, right?
Yeah.
Just, ask them, just be honest with me. Is this something that you see working?
Yeah.
And I think you would find a lot of people say, well, not the way you've got it, but if you did this, and then don't be stupid, listen to them.
Yes.
Right? I mean, that's like these marketing groups having these focus groups all the time that, that's how it used to be done. So you bring 12 people in and the marketing company would sit down and run these ideas by them, and they give thumbs up or thumbs down. And today you can do, and it would cost $15,000 to $20,000 to have a marketing group study done. I can do it on TikTok. I don't know, for free.
Yeah.
And get the results with probably 300 people.
Yeah.
In just a matter of seconds.
Oh, absolutely.
And then twist it. But again, the other thing again is entrepreneurs don't take things that personal.
No.
Okay, it's just an idea. It's a thought. I'm going to move on. So
well, and as an entrepreneur, anybody who is an entrepreneur, you have to first off somewhat get out of your own way. You have to put your ego aside.
I think that was Cass's one of our first steps.
Cass was, you got to put your ego aside.
Your ego out of the way.
But once you put that ego aside, you are able to absorb that feedback. And there's going to be some feedback, and we've talked about there's going to be some feedback where you're like, you have like, I might be asking someone like, do you like fried pickles? And they're like, oh, this is the worst idea ever. Come to find out that person's allergic to pickles, right? It's not going to, and
then they're going to die.
And then they're going to die. But that's not someone that I'm going to need to take advice from, right? So, but for the people who you built around you in that network, is listening to their feedback, listening to what they have to say, making the 5 degree or maybe a full pivot, and then coming around. I mean, the reality of everything that we're doing is, this, you cannot be afraid first off to fail, right?
No.
You can't
you are going to fail.
You are. Yeah.
So you should, so if you're an entrepreneur, I'm just going to go ahead and break the news to you. You're going to fail.
You're going to fail.
And you're going to fail more than once.
Yes.
Okay. And again, it's just a part of the game, and if you do get it right the first time, it's a fluke, and then it'll probably eventually fail.
Yes.
So that's a piece of it. It is, but again, it's trying things, and like you said, and then leveraging relationships that you got. Don't focus on the cash.
Yeah.
Because if you build it'll work. I mean, that's kind of the cool thing about TikTok, and I hope the president and everybody gets TikTok all worked out.
Yeah.
See, there was another extension on it, but what a platform.
Yeah.
I mean, how many businesses out there have got started because of TikTok?
Oh,
I mean, it's a for entrepreneurs, there is no better platform than TikTok and YouTube.
Yes. Oh, 100%.
I'm just saying again. So hopefully everything will get worked out with it. But again, it's understanding you're going to fail.
Yeah.
Failure is not fatal.
No.
Okay. You don't fail. You only fail when you refuse to get back up.
Yes.
Tell people. So when you get knocked down, if you get back up, you actually didn't fail.
Yeah.
You got back up, kept moving. And I think that's the biggest piece of it. But you are going to fail.
Yeah.
I mean, I would always laugh. I wish I had all the money that I wasted on bad ideas.
Yeah.
Because I'd be a zillionaire. So all I'm saying, though, again, but that's okay, and the thing, you got to be around other people, because if you're around, that's the other thing about, you're around other entrepreneurs that are mature entrepreneurs, they've all failed too, and so if you're around that kind of people, they're that's the kind of people they're not going to say, well, I told you. They're not going to say, I told you it wouldn't work. You shouldn't do it again or whatever.
Yeah.
That kind of goes back to one of our other things. You've got to be around the right kind of people to do it. But it is going to fail. But you got to make the move forward. A lot of people on here that want to be an entrepreneur will not end up doing it because you're not willing to take the risk to see if you can succeed.
Yeah.
And some of you will, and it won't work out.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Like I say, entrepreneurship is not for everybody, but I believe everybody should give it a shot.
Oh, 100%.
You have no idea if you can be an entrepreneur until you actually give it a try.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And with all of that, I mean, you've got to give it a try. And so this week we're doing a little bit shorter of a podcast this week, just because we are at the lake. It is, kind of a relaxing week for us, a little bit more laid back. But with that, I want to say we are going to do a challenge, right? In the closing challenge, I want everyone to understand is, first off, is you're not too early to start. It's never too early to start. You're not too late. It's never too late. I mean, the day that they put you 6 feet in the ground, at that point, I would say probably a little too late.
You may have missed it.
Yeah, unless you're going into a fertilization company.
Then you're right on time.
You're right on time. But
human compost. That's really a nasty idea.
Yeah. But the reality of it is you are right on time to start building yourself. And that's what you have to do. As an entrepreneur, to start off as an entrepreneur, you have to build yourself. Whether that is building your TikTok page, whether that's building your YouTube page, whether that's building your network for actual physical business, you have to start building yourself, your brand, who you are. And so this week, I want everyone who is an entrepreneur, if you are an entrepreneur, you feel like you might be an entrepreneur, I want you to make one step closer to owning the game, owning what you've done. And with that, either start the LLC. LLCs are very inexpensive to get started.
And you don't need an attorney to do it.
You don't.
You can go to your state's website.
Yep.
For probably $60.
Oh, absolutely. And I think you can even go onto like Rocket Lawyer. Yeah. There's a lot of different websites out there that will help you create your LLC. Launch maybe an offer. Like if you have an LLC, if you have a business, launch your first offer, right? Launch your first subscription if you're on TikTok. On YouTube, launch your first, maybe start finding a sponsor for your video.
Right.
Start somewhere, but start securing your own dream. Start securing your own game. And when you do that, when you make that first step, tag us in the video of you making that first step. Make a video, tag us in that, because as we move into next week with our connecting the dots, right? Building that network is a superpower. When you let us know that you've made those first steps, we can actually start helping you gain some connections, gain that network into maybe the industry that you're in. We have a lot of connections between the two of us. We have a lot of connections. Our connections have a lot of connections. And we're here to support you. So with all of that being said, I want everyone to, if you're an entrepreneur, or hell, if you're scared to make the start, send us a message. Let us come on.
We will shame you into
it. We will shame you.
I will shame you into it.
Yes.
You have to start. I go back again, Brian, like I say, an LLC is a very inexpensive thing to do, or an S Corp. Basically, either one will work for you. But the perk of it is come up with anything that you want. But that way, when somebody says, well, what are your plans? Oh, I just started a company.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't care what you call it. I don't care what it is. You can have, Juju Flowers. Then you can come back and say doing business as whatever you want it to do.
Absolutely.
But also as a country, the United States is built for entrepreneurs.
Absolutely.
And if you have an LLC and you're starting to work on creating a company, you can take a lot of the stuff that you're doing and write it off as a business expense.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm a big fan of I think everybody should have an LLC or sub S Corp.
Yes.
Because again, there's so much stuff tax-wise you can write off that you're doing there. But again, then it's just the first step, so it costs you maybe, I don't know, $60 or I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's just not that expensive to do. You don't need an attorney to do it. Like you said, you can go to a Rocket lawyer or there's, Better Call Saul. What's in there?
Yeah.
So anyway, but that's what I would encourage you to do. But I'm with you, and then reach out, and let us help you.
Yeah. Well, and that's what we want to do is we're here to help you. We're here to walk alongside of you. But again, you start that LLC, you can officially say that you've started creating.
I started a business.
I started a business. I own a business, and I'm starting to create my own game, right?
Exactly.
And that's what we're here for. That's the whole reason of Unplugged Unfiltered, is to encourage young entrepreneurs, and young entrepreneurs doesn't mean age, right? It is someone who is starting out.
Yeah, there are.
There's a lot of people who they don't start until they're 50.
Colonel Sanders was on Social Security when he started Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Absolutely. So,
and he's got, I think, some pretty fine chicken.
Yeah. He's done okay for himself.
Yes, he has.
But with all of that said, I truly do appreciate everyone who's on here. If you guys have any questions, if you have any concerns, if you have any comments, again, our ego's out of the way. So if our podcast was horrible,
sensitive.
If our podcast was horrible, you can let us know.
We don't care.
We don't care. But we would love to hear any feedback, and we'd love to hear your success stories, right? We'd love to cheer you on. If you start a business, let us know. We'll be your biggest cheerleader. We'll also help support you.
Absolutely.
And then we'll get you guys in contact with other people. We talk about Mike and Cass Lazaro a lot on this. I would encourage you guys to go on to social media and look up, it's always Cass and Mike, but look up Cass and Mike Lazaro on any social media platform. Follow them. They're releasing a brand new podcast, which is going to be incredible. It's based off of their book, Shoveling Shit. And it is the love story of entrepreneurship, right? It's everything that we do as entrepreneurs. We do it because we love it. Everything that everyone does on TikTok, they do it because they love it, right? It's a grind. They have to, but they do it because they truly enjoy it. And again, follow them. Start creating your network there, because they are some of the most responsive people I've ever met in my life. And so if you have a question, they will respond to you. And their advice is probably better than my advice.
Probably.
But
not mine.
But not his. 100% mine, but not his.
So I would say also it's like Gary Vee. Go back again. You got to start following these players. But Cass and Mike, you need to follow them. You need to follow Gary Vee. Gary Vee has got like the most passion. He's the most passionate human being in terms of entrepreneurship and things like that that I've ever seen before. But that's the kind of stuff there that keeps your souls fired.
Absolutely. So with that, we're going to call it an episode. We're going to unplug, but we appreciate everyone who came through. We appreciate everyone who stopped by. If you need something, don't hesitate to send us a message.
Right.
We're here to support you. We're here to help. whether it's on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, or TikTok. We're here. If you guys ever want to go back and watch one of our episodes, you can go to unpluggedunfiltered.com. All of our episodes are there. You can connect with us on unpluggedunfiltered.com as well. And you can even, if any of you are an entrepreneur, we now have a guest submission form. So if you have a desire to be on a podcast, if you would like to come on and promote maybe something that you're doing,
love to.
You're more than fill out the guest form. We will, our team will look through it. We'll respond to it. And we'll find a time to get you on the podcast because we love having guests. It's great for Bob and I to just sit down and have a conversation and talk. It's fun, but we love having guests. We love creating challenges, and we've had some very, very successful challenges, whether it was Anthony Masucci with Cass and Mike.
Right.
We've really been able to come along and support them, and we'd love to support you guys. So much love to all of you guys. Again, if you need us, we're here. But with that, we're going to unplug and call it a
lake night.
A lake night.
A lake
So,
night.
thank you guys. Thank you, TikTok. Thank you, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter.
Government.
No, not Twitter. LinkedIn, all of
Twitch.
those, everything,
Everything.
all of them. So thank you guys. We will catch you next week right here at the same time. For your network is your superpower. So don't forget to tune in and join us then. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Our aim never disappoint, so we have coincidentally stumbled on a legendary. Wait until they see us now, waiting for the opportune time to show them this new power of mine. When words is where we landed, we're 2 rows of Knicks to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Gracie Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. When words is where we landed, we're 2 rows of Knicks to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Our aim never disappoint, so we have coincidentally stumbled on a legendary. Wait until they see us now, waiting for the opportune time to show them this new power of mine. When words is where we landed, we're 2 rows of Knicks to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Gracie Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. When words is where we landed, we're 2 rows of Knicks to be commended. We're taking down